I don't get to wear long shirts in Washington, D.C. I'm home for a 3-week district work period. Last week was pretty intense committee work on both appropriations and natural resources and other work in Congress, which got me up pretty early because they're not adjusting to Hawaii time. And then this week and next week, I am able to focus exclusively on my district here. Again, I represent the 1st Congressional District, which is Makapu'u to Mililani, Mauka out to Ko'olina, but for all intents and purposes, we don't distinguish a whole bunch based on the 1st and 2nd Congressional District here in Hawaii. Today, I'm trying to help you with your questions on taxes. This is, of course, a tax season. Taxes are confusing in any year, but they're especially confusing in the middle of COVID-19, where there have been so many changes to some of the rules, so many questions as to whether benefits under the COVID-19 packages that we have passed out now, the CARES Act from last March of about 2.2 trillion, supplemental funding of 900 billion in December, and then most recently the American Rescue Plan just a few weeks ago at 1.9 trillion to try to help us out of the public health, economic, and community crisis of COVID-19. But many, many questions have come into my office. We've had hundreds of questions already on many different aspects of tax filings, both at the federal and the state level. I'll just give you some examples of some of the questions I've had. Maybe the top 6 questions we've been receiving. I already filed my taxes but didn't claim the recovery rebate credit. What do I do now? How do we claim our 1st and 2nd economic impact payments if they were eligible but we haven't received them? Do I need a valid Social Security number to claim the credit? How do I get tax forms? What if the IRS Get My Payment tool, that is an online tool that you can go to understand the status of your stimulus payment if you're eligible? What if the tool says the stimulus was sent but I haven't received it? And then how can I file my 2020 return if my 2019 return is not completed processing yet? Those are just some of the questions. There have been many, many others. And my goal here is to line you up with the folks that know exactly what the answers are. The Internal Revenue Service, our federal tax agency, of course. As you all know, I think, or maybe you don't, the normal filing deadline for federal tax returns in any year is April 15th. This year, I and many of my colleagues urged the IRS to continue that deadline because of all of the confusion over federal tax filings. The IRS has, in fact, continued the deadline for the filing of federal tax returns until May 17th. But I want to emphasize that there's a whole other aspect, of course, which is the state of Hawaii taxes. And as of this date, the state of Hawaii has not similarly extended the April 20th deadline for the filing of state tax returns, although as in any year, there are mechanisms and procedures under which you can request an extension of your filing. So you may well want to consider that. I'm going to turn this over to the IRS shortly, but before I do that, I want to emphasize that my office is open and available to you to help you with your questions, whether they are tax related or otherwise. We have helped literally thousands of my constituents throughout the last very difficult year of COVID-19 with all aspects of COVID-19, whether it be PPP or stimulus payments or unemployed benefits across the board. And my office is easily accessible at case.house.gov, case.house.gov. Some basic information there as well as how to contact me. My local number here for my Honolulu office is 650-6688, 650-6688. Or you can email us at ed.case@mail.house.gov. I have on the phone with me a number of my staff members who help you. Jackie Conant is my Deputy Chief of Staff, and Derek Clark in my office is my staff assistant who is responsible primarily for assisting you with your tax concerns. But if you write in or call in to our general numbers, you'll get to Jackie and Derek right away. I also want to note one other service, and perhaps Ann can emphasize this, and that is that here in Hawaii we have the Internal Revenue Service Taxpayer Advocate. That is an IRS position, but it is specifically charged with representing taxpayers with their issues with the IRS. So the taxpayer advocate's loyalty is to you as the taxpayer to try to figure out what your issues are and to advocate. We've worked very, very closely with the taxpayer advocate. So if you want to, come through me to contact the advocate and seek assistance, that's fine. Or we can give you direct information for the taxpayer advocate right here in Hawaii. With that, I'm going to introduce our IRS representative today, Ann Burton. Ann is headquartered in Denver. She has Hawaii as one of her areas of responsibility for the IRS. Ann has worked for the IRS for 38 years now. She has a degree in business administration from Arizona State University. She's worked right through the ranks in the Internal Revenue Service, from taxpayer service specialist to customer service to working on issues relating particularly to associations and industry members. And she's currently assigned to legislative affairs with the IRS. So she does seminars like this regularly, and she's going to give you a quick slideshow of some of the issues that she wants to raise for you, and then she's going to have an opportunity for you to ask questions. I'm going to stay on for a little while, and then I get off to go on to other areas of my schedule, but Jackie and Derek will be on the phone with you all the way through, and will certainly let me know if there's any particular areas that I need to deal with. So with that, thank you again for joining us today. I look forward to helping you, and here is Ann Burton for the IRS.
What I'm going to go over today, as it shows here, is the tax filing tips, where to get help filing your tax return. A lot of us need that. A few what ifs, the IRS services and online tools, some of which we've already discussed, the earned income tax credit, the first and second round of the economic impact payments, the recovery rebate credit, the third round of the economic impact payments, and then we'll have a question answer at the end.
And sorry, Ann, just before you go there, how should people actually submit their questions? Just in chat?
In chat, please, yes.
Okay, so you can go ahead and add them in there now, and we can start getting ready for them. Okay, go ahead. Thanks.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay. There we go. Tax filing season, as you know, or you may not know, it started on February 12th. And what we want you to do, as always, is to file an accurate return. It's best if you can file electronically. Electronically lets you know that it's been accepted, and there's usually a lot fewer errors if it's filed electronically. If you file electronically and also ask for a direct deposit, you'll usually get your refund within about 10 to 14 days. Whereas if you, ask for a paper check, it may take 2 to 4 weeks. So file electronically and ask for the direct deposit. I'm sorry. As far as the filing deadline, as was mentioned, it's been extended from April 15th to May 17th. What we want you to do is to file on time, regardless of whether you do the April 15th or the May 17th. It's important that you file on time and pay as much as you can when you file your tax return, because we want to minimize the penalty for not paying on time. This is the first year that IRS has the 1040 and the 1040 Senior in Spanish. So we have that, and we also have a new LEP, Limited English Proficiency Form, that you can write in and ask to have it information presented to you in one of 20 different languages. So we're moving out that way to try and make sure we're able to reach those who may not be able to speak English. It's not their first language. One thing I want to mention that's also changed that you probably heard about is I think it was on March 19th, it was determined that unemployment income that was received in 2020, that up to $10,200 of your unemployment income can be excluded from your taxable income, provided your income does not exceed $150,000. Now that $10,200 is per person. So if you're on a married filing joint return and each of you receive unemployment, each of you can exclude up to $10,200 of the unemployment income. As of right now, if you've already filed your tax return and you did have unemployment income and you reported all of it on there, right now, IRS is saying to wait for further guidance as to whether what you need to do. So right now, do not file an amended return, okay? Let's see. Some of you may have last year when you filed your tax return received interest on your refund. That interest is taxable, so you want to make sure if it was, you did receive it, you report it. You may have received a Form 1099 interest income from IRS. You usually just receive that form if it's $10 or more in interest that was paid to you. However, even if you've received less than $10 in interest, you still want to report it on your tax return. If you do have a balance due, IRS does have different ways that you can pay. You can ask for an extension of time to pay. You can ask for a short-term extension, or you can ask for a payment plan. All of these you can do online, or you can ask for an offer in compromise where they're looking at your income and it says, well, maybe we need to look at something a little differently as far as the payment, or you can just have them put a hold on the account. Now, keep in mind with all of these options that if you use any of them, penalty and interest will continue to accrue. So like I said earlier, what you want to do is file on time and pay as much as you can. So even if you can't pay anything, at least file on time. But again, if you can, pay as much as you can to avoid the late payment penalty. Okay, let's see, next slide. Okay. Technology. Okay, well, something's happened with the slide, so I'll just go on to the next one. As far as where to get help with filing your tax return, we do have if you're computer savvy, we do have the IRS free file where you can go, and we have certain software companies that you can use to file your tax return if your income is below $75,000. If you need in-help service, we do have the volunteer income tax return. We also have tax counseling for the elderly, and we have AARP, the American Association of a Retired Person. If your income is under $50,000, you can use one of those. Now, for the volunteer income tax return, you'll notice that there's a link there that you can click onto that and find a site that's close to you, or you can call that 800-906-9887 to find somewhere close to you where you can get free tax help. Now, keep in mind, with COVID still going on, we have less volunteer income tax assistance and the TCE and AARP, but look and see so we can make sure that you can get your tax return completed. If, on the other hand, you want to choose have a tax professional do it, you want to be careful with it because you're trusting them with a lot of valuable information, your name, your social security number, your date of birth, your financial information. So you want to make sure you pick someone who's skilled in doing it and someone that you can trust with your information. Most tax preparers are honest and upfront, so you don't have to worry about them. But every now and then we do have those who aren't preparing the returns accurately. So you want to be sure to check our link there that we have for tips on choosing a good tax preparer. Now, the one thing it says on there, beware of ghost tax return preparers. These are people who are filing fraudulent returns, usually to benefit themselves. One way to know if you have a ghost preparer is that you pay them to do your taxes. However, they refuse to sign the return. That is a requirement. If you're being paid to file someone's return, you do need to they do need to sign it and also provide their prepared tax identification number as well. They may also e-file the return, but they refuse to sign it digitally. Again, since they're being paid, they have to sign it. Not wanting to sign it is one thing that may raise a red flag. Another thing that would let you think, or rather make it look like it's a ghost return preparer is if they require payment in cash, but they won't give you a receipt. They invent income to qualify you for certain credits to increase your refund. They'll claim deductions to boost the size of the refund, or they'll direct deposits to their bank account rather than yours. So you want to make sure if you go there and you're asking for a direct deposit that it's going to your account and not theirs. So make sure you do that. Make sure you pick someone carefully. Okay, now we have the what ifs. Because of the COVID, it caused a lot of hardship for a lot of people. And we have these what ifs for struggling people as far as job related, debt and tax related. Due to things that may have happened to you last year that normally doesn't happen, you may be facing tax impact that, as I said, you normally don't have. So this is why we have this what if page. And some of the things that we have on this link is, for example, what if I lose my job? What if my income declines? Or if you have something tax debt related, what if I sell my home for a loss? Or what if I'm insolvent? Okay, or we may also have, as I've discussed, what if I can't pay my taxes? What if a levy is on my wages? And more. So there's lots of information on here as far as trying to help you if you've been hurt by what happened last year, and a lot of us were affected by what happened last year. Okay, here we show the help that we have on our IRS.gov. We have the online tool, provides a lot of information. On the site, you can find out the amount you owed, updated to the current date. You can see your payment history and any scheduled or pending payments, information about your most recent filed tax returns, payment details, and more. One of them that you can find out on there is the economic impact payments for EIP 1 and 2. You can also make payments online, and you can also see payment options as far as requesting a payment via the online payment agreement. You can also access your tax script if you need something off of there. Another tool that's very good is the interactive tax assistant. And with this tool, what you do is you go in there and it'll start asking you questions, and you put in information. You answer the question based on how it addresses you. It will then guide you through what it is you need to do based on the information that you've provided. It'll provide you with things like, do I have to file a tax return? Can I claim a dependent? Can I deduct expenses? And what your filing status is. So it's something that's very useful, and just take it one step at a time. And as I said, you're just putting in your personal information. That's it. We don't keep it. Once you're done, everything goes away. Okay, we also have Let Us Help You page, which will help you go in the right direction for more common tax questions. We also have the IRS Services Guide that links you to some of the sites I've mentioned to you already. And then one that most of you or some of you may be familiar with, and that's Where's My Refund? That's updated daily, so it'll give you the most current information. Usually with the Where's My Refund, you'll get an acknowledgement if you file electronically within 24 hours, and then you would just start checking to see, and it'll let you know where it is in the process. Okay. With the Earned Income Tax Credit, we do have an assistant for that as well. To qualify, you can use the credit to reduce your taxes owed, or you might even be able to increase your refund. For example, the EITC can be worth as much as $6,600 for a family with 3 or more children, or up to $530 if you have no children, single and you have no children. Now for this year, normally as with most tax years or tax returns, you're looking at your current year's income. Well, again, because of COVID, there's a new EITC rule, which for 2020, instead of using your 2020 income, you can use your 2019 income if it's more than what was in 2020. or if you received unemployment income in 2020, which usually cannot be used for EITC. Under the new rule, you would elect to use your 2019 earned income to figure the credit if the credit is more in using the 2019 versus the 2020. And this may cause you to have bigger credits, a bigger refund or a smaller balance due. So you want to look at that and see what works best for you. And then we do have, as I said, the IRS EITC assistant tool, which will help you determine if you do qualify for the credit. And like I said, with the interactive, you want to look at the question, provide the information, and then the assistant is going to provide you with information based on what you provided to them, whether you qualify for the credit or if you don't qualify for the credit. So it's another useful tool for that. Now, the economic impact payments. The first one, the very first one for the $600, the $1,200, excuse me, was based on your 2018 or your 2019 return, whichever was the one that we most recently processed. Then we had the second EIP for the $600 that was also based on the 2018 or 2019 return. If you didn't receive either of those, or if you received less than what you thought you should have received, then you would need to file the form 1040 for tax year 2020 so that you can claim the recovery rebate credit. Because the recovery rebate credit is just that, for the amount that you didn't receive, be it the full amount or partial amount, you want to do that, but you have to file the 2020 tax return. Keep in mind that these payments, the economic payments, 1, 2, and 3, regardless of the amount, they are not taxable. And at this time, the service has already completed sending out the first and second economic payments. So again, if you haven't received it, then file the 2020 tax return and claim the credit. One of the things that will allow you to get the credit that you may not have gotten it last year is that you may have been claimed as a dependent on your parents' tax returns. That prevented you from getting the EIP 1 and 2. But if when you file your 2020 tax return, you are no longer claimed as a dependent on anyone else's return and you meet the other requirements for it, then you may be able to get the recovery rebate credit for the EIP 1 and the EIP 2. Okay, I think, okay, hold on a second. Okay, for the third economic impact payment, most families got the $1,400 per person. And that also included if you had a dependent 17, and it also allowed for older dependents in your house. So it's $1,400 per person in your house, and we're looking at your 2019 or your 2020 return, depending on which one has the most recently processed return. So there may be times where we'll look at the income on your 2019. If the 2020 has not been submitted and processed, that may affect the amount of your economic payment as far as how much you're going to get. Most people, as far as the economic payment, as far as the third one, you don't need to do anything. IRS, as of March 24th, has already sent out approximately 37 million payments. For those who are on Social Security or veterans benefits, we're working with the VA and Social Security Administration to get those out to you as soon as possible. So you want to check our Economic Information Center page to see what the update is on that. We're going to update it as soon as we get that information, as soon as the information becomes available. Okay. I need to stop moving, it appears. The slides keep going forward, and I apologize for that. Okay, for determining the eligibility for the third economic payment, most people, like I said, will get the payment automatically. The IRS will use whatever information, the most recent filed tax return, process return, to determine the amount of the economic payment for the EIP3. You need to file a 2020 return, or if you filed the 2019, but the 2020 has not processed, we'll look at the 2019 income. And as I said, as far as the VA and Social Security, as soon as that information becomes available, we'll post it on irs.gov and you can check for that. Now, for more information on this, some of the things that we have on the website is who is eligible for the third economic payment. And we do now have questions and answers, frequently asked questions and answers for all three of the payments, 1, 2, and 3. We just go to our Economic Impact Payment Information Center and go to the respective payment 1, 2, or 3 and get the questions that you have. We also have on there, how will the service know where to send my payment? Well, we're looking at your most recently filed tax return for the address to mail it to, or for direct deposit. Will people receive a paper check or a debit card? It could be either. That is something that is determined by the IRS doesn't make that determination. That's made by MetaBank, who sends out the debit cards. Unfortunately, at this time, it's something that is not something that you can choose one way or the other. It's something that's sent out there. Excuse me, it's sent. Okay. Let me give you some toll-free numbers, and I think Derek may have he has the PowerPoint and can provide it to you with these phone numbers on here. For tax information, for toll-free numbers, we have 1-800-829-1040 for the individual tax assistance. For business, it's 1-800-829-4933. And we have a special number for the Economic Impact Payment Hotline, and that's 1-800-919-9835. Okay. And that's all I have for you today. And look and see what questions we have in the chat box. We have.
Hey, good morning, Ann. Thank you for your brief. This is Derek. I'll read some questions off on the chat box, and then we can just kind of have a conversation type answer Q&A for that, if you're okay with it.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Okay. So the first one I see says, I sent my income tax payment to the IRS. Can I also e-file the document so the IRS can get it sooner, because the mail system is questionably slow?
Unfortunately, if you've already filed the return by paper, you would not be able to file electronically. If you did that, it would most likely cause hold up on your account, because they would both be there, and then they would have to determine which return needs to be processed. So if you've already done it by mail, then no, do not submit it electronically.
Okay, so it sounds like we probably shouldn't duplicate filing efforts on either end of it.
Right,
to complicate
right.
the matter. Okay.
Right, it'll just make matters worse if you do a duplicate filing, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Another one on here says, why was the tax, or they ask why the tax date was not extended to October 15th. I believe that's probably about the state deadline. But do you have any input or ideas why that might occur in any state?
As far as states, I don't know. Now, as far as with IRS, the normal due date of April 15th has been extended to May 17th. If you are still unable to file by May 17th, then you can file the Form 4868 to request an extension of time to pay to October 17th. But as Congressman Case mentioned earlier, as far as the extension from April 15th to May 17th, as far as on the state level, that's on a state-by-state basis. So you want to make sure you check with the state of Hawaii to see what they're doing.
Okay, thank you. And we'll be providing that type of information through our office to everybody who's on this presentation as well. So you can follow the Congressman's Facebook page or sign up for the newsletter on his website. Those are two of the best ways to stay up to date on not only what he's doing, but what is happening around the state and federally and how he's involved. There's another question here about an underpayment penalty. It says 2020 was my first time collecting UI and I trusted the state to withhold properly. So I opted to withhold tax with my statement unemployment, but the state didn't actually deduct tax from my UI. Now I incurred an underpayment penalty. Will the IRS bill me later anyways?
I'm not sure I understand. Are you saying that they did not withhold state taxes from the unemployment income? I wasn't quite sure.
Uncertain about that, but let's go for federal just for the
Yeah.
subject matter. And it's sounding like this person has filed their taxes and sent in a payment with the return, but will the IRS send a bill later anyways?
When IRS receives your tax return and processes it and sees that there was a payment made, they will apply it towards any balance due on the return. And if there is a balance due after that, then they will send you a notice showing what the balance is. And as I said earlier, you want to pay as much when you file the tax return. And now you have until May 17th to pay any balance due after they finish processing your return that you've submitted right now. So you now have until May 17th to do that without incurring any penalty for not paying on time, as long as you do it by May 17th.
Okay, thank you. And while we're kind of talking about taxes on unemployment, do you have any insight you can provide on that? Seems like that was a surprise to many and not a happy one.
Yeah, it was one that came about after a lot of people had already filed their tax returns. That's why, since a lot of people have already filed their tax returns, right now IRS is looking to see what it is, what guidance there's going to be as far as those who have already filed their tax return and reported the full amount of unemployment income that they received. Right now, they do not want you to file an amended return and just wait for further guidance as to what they need to do. But if you have not filed your tax return yet, then you can do the necessary adjustments on your tax return so that you're not paying taxes on the first $10,200 of unemployment income.
Okay, thank you. The next question, I understand that stimulus payments are not taxable, but will it affect my refund amount?
It'll affect your refund amount in that it will be added on to your refund. So if you have, you're claiming the recovery rebate credit because you didn't receive all or any of economic impact payment 1 and or 2, if you claim the recovery rebate credit and you already have a refund before you get to that, then the credit is going to increase your refund.
And does that work conversely as well? If you did receive the, say, $2,800 for yourself and a child, does that mean you'll get less of a refund?
It just means that you've already received, the payments were an advance payment of the credit that's being claimed on the return. So if you want to look at it that way, you could say that you're getting less, but that's because you received it last year or earlier this year.
Okay, I see. Yeah,
but
very.
Other than that normal refund that you would get because your taxes exceeded, or rather your payments exceeded the taxes due, it's not going to affect that just because you've already received it.
Okay, so thank you. Yes, that's very good clarification. I have one question. A husband didn't get his second stimulus of 600 when I received mine with a card with 600 credit on it. We always file jointly. What could the problem have been? So I think, can you explain maybe why spouses who file jointly are not receiving the stimulus payments at the same time?
That would be something that we would have to look further into, because if they filed jointly, it should have been like the first one that it was received as a joint $2,400. They shouldn't have separated out for the second one since it was a joint return. So we would have to look into that a little closer to see what the problem was with that.
Okay, and that leads heavily into working with the local tax advocacy office?
Correct.
Okay, and can you explain a little bit more about what the tax advocate office can do for residents?
What the Taxpayer Advocate Service does is it's working with IRS, but if you're having problems with some things as far as getting your refund or balance due, or you've worked with IRS but you're not getting an answer, you're not getting a response, then the Taxpayer Advocate Service works with you specifically on your case and to see what it is that needs to be done to correct the information, get your refund, make sure that the balance due shows that it's been paid in full, etc.
Okay, and then probably just as importantly, can you tell us a little bit about what they can't do for us?
Not having worked in TAS, I would say that we would need to go to their website to see exactly what it is that they do. I'm not aware, I can't say with certainty for what they do not do, and I don't want to lead you astray, so I would say you would need to go to their website to see what it is that they do and what they don't do.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, anyone has questions, go to their website or feel free to reach out to our office again.
Right, and then if they reach out to you and you send it on to me, I'll look and see and send it on to them as appropriate.
Sure. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I was thinking more along the line of, I hear tax advocate and I can call them with my tax problems. Are they
right
along the line of like a tax attorney or someone who can file my tax amendment for me, that kind of a thing?
No, they wouldn't do anything like that. They're looking at things that are already in the process. They may need to request information for you to further the process along as far as the processing of the return, but no, they do not file it for you.
Okay, that's very helpful. Okay, let's do one last question. We don't want to keep you too long. Here, this one is coming up often here in District 1, and I think it might be a little bit frustrating for those who have this question. Why are some receiving cards that are preloaded with the refunds or stimulus payments, and why are others receiving checks, and when will they be reloaded or resent?
Well, first, they're not reloaded. So if you got one for the first or second payment, and they're going to issue you another one, they're not going to reload a previously card was sent to you. If, as far as who receives the check versus the card, that's something that IRS does not decide. It's decided by MetaBank as far as whether you're going to get the card or the check. I'm not able to say what the reasoning is or what the determining factor is on that, but that's the way it's being decided right now.
Okay, thank you. And with closing, is there anything that you would like to put out that came to mind after the questions that you feel might be important for the participants to hear?
Not that I can think of, because Congressman Case took some of my stuff, but it was fine. It was good information that needed to go out there. But the main thing I would say that we have the frequently asked questions, like I said, for the third economic impact payment, which a lot of people are asking about. But the main thing is just watch the IRS.gov page particularly with the one that a lot of people are asking, because I've gotten it from other states as well, and that's with Social Security and VA, to just watch for it. We're working with the other agencies to get that out to you as soon as possible, because we know that you need it. So we're working with them to get it out there as quickly as possible.
Great, thank
And
you,
that's
Ms.
it.
Burton. Okay, well, we surely appreciate your time and effort put into this presentation. The information is definitely important for the district to hear about. A lot of this stuff are questions that we're receiving on a daily basis. So I guess in closing, I'd like to let everyone participating know that we are receiving your questions and we do respond to them as quickly as possible as well. And the way casework from our office will work on your behalf is, once we find out what's going on with your concern or issue and get a release of information, request signed and returned, we reach out to the tax advocacy office here and try to work through getting you connected with them. So similarly to the tax advocates, we don't provide tax advice, or we aren't tax attorneys. What we do is provide the service to get you connected and follow up with it to make sure that the best possible outcomes are occurring for you. And it's only through people like Ms. Burton and our local tax advocacy office can we even do that. So thank you again, Ms. Burton. And for more questions, please go to our website, case.house.gov, or go ahead and reach out on Facebook. Just search Congressman Ed Case, it comes right up, and give us a follow for up-to-date information for new workshops or presentations or talk stories. It really would be our pleasure to have you follow us and to be able to share more about what is going on with your government and your Hawaii with you. So feel free to reach out with any questions. Otherwise, I appreciate everybody joining, and we look forward to helping you. Thank you.